Yeah, but it's authentic, so that's cool.
Mm.
Hey, one thing Elliot and I share is a passion for horse racing, and Elliot.
Speaking of authentic,
Oh,
yes, which is
wow,
a
that
horse.
wasn't intentional, but yeah, if you don't know, Elliot was a part owner of a Kentucky Derby winner, authentic, trained by Bob Baffert. The that was, you did a lot of media appearances, and you're
Well,
still
by
talking about it.
part, it was like I owned 1/100,000th of it with 5,000 other people. But it was a $200 investment that I saw authentic run in the Stakes Cup. Basically, this horse was much faster than any other horse there is. And it
Mhm.
had this speed rating of like 103, where every other major horse, was like in the 80s or 90s for speed rating. So this thing was amazing. It's like, hey, I can get a piece of this, even
Right.
though. So basically, uh, the thing, yeah, the horse won the Kentucky Derby, but the other part of it, my wife Anna worked at Walter Reed with basically at their simulation center, where she hired actors to pretend they're sick, and the Walter Reed doctors would diagnose what was wrong with them. And the sports assistant from WTOP, which is a main news channel in DC, had a part-time gig as an actor playing sick so that the Walter Reed people could diagnose him. But anyway, he said, "There's no way Authentic's going to win." He was like a long shot at 15-1 in the
Right.
Derby. And like when you watched the Derby at the time, it's like all these celebrities, none of them wanted Authentic. They all like wanted the favorite or the second favorite. This was like the third favorite. So, and like when he won, it's like, I got to get Elliot. I got to have him
Uh,
talk to WTOP. And once again, WTOP in DC is the highest rated channel. So, and
They
even though
carry
they're
they
20,
carry
they're
the Orioles, right?
well, they're news, 24
Okay.
hour news and traffic
Okay.
and weather, which you need 24 in DC, which is a weird thing with DC, but that's how it is. But anyway, so they interviewed me, and it was like they played it over and over, and then Channel 5, which is Fox News in DC,
Mhm.
said, "Okay, we got to pick up on this story." Of course, I had this like this polo shirt that had Authentic on it, so that was like really cool. Right after the Derby, and they played that morning, noon and night, and then CNBC took that lead and said, "Okay, we got to interview Elliot too." So the bottom line is, as hard as I trying to make it as a musician, for like that 1 week, I was like more famous than anything I'd ever do in music from a $200 investment owning, 1/100,000th of a horse.
Right.
And people at Starbucks or Safeway said, "Hey, you're the guy that owns the horse. Can I get a picture with you?"
Right.
So yeah, for 1 week, I was like super super famous as a
So
horse owner.
authentic.
Yeah, Authentic
You're
won the Derby and came
yeah.
second in the Preakness.
Right. Right. And then the Belmont didn't run. Right.
Yeah, he didn't run.
Right.
But
Okay.
and basically the bottom line, if anybody's thinking I made a lot of money from it, no, I might have like made I made my $200 back and maybe like $50 more than that. But I made the money with authentic betting on it because it was 15-1, and I bet like I'm not like a big better. I bet
Right.
like maybe 20 or $30 and made a few hundred. So I made my
Right.
money back, knowing that authentic was going to win. So but the coolest thing was it's like, hey, I could get on Cameo as a horse race owner and say happy birthday to people in my authentic shirt. I
Did you
made
do that?
$25. Yeah, I made
Oh, okay.
$25 doing that.
Right. Right.
So it
So
was
did you
cool.
invest in other horses since?
Well, that's a good question. I want to also say another thing about authentic is that the real money that he made was from as a breeder. In other words, he has like 200 kids,
Right.
and people paid like $70,000 each time. So most of the 200 I made back from authentic wasn't from the races, but from the from breeding. But
Okay.
and I was also going to say I'm a fan of one of his kids named Rodriguez, which is the Thoroughbred Daily News Rising Star. So look out for Rodriguez, even though I don't own him. I mean, I
Right.
made a half a penny from him breeding him, but he's going to win. I see him winning the Derby. Anyway, do I own another horse? Yes. Lucky Running Cat. which is based out of Pennsylvania. He's
Okay.
running Friday at Penn National in the ninth race. He isn't a perfect horse. He usually, I shouldn't say bad things about him, but he's usually way ahead and then he chokes and comes in second. So he
Right.
would be a good horse to bet place on, but
Yeah.
not to win.
Or underneath in the exacta, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
that's great. You're staying about. Did you go to Laurel and Pimlico when you were in Maryland?
it was usually Charlestown because the horses were cheaper.
Oh, okay.
And unlike Pimlico or Laurel, like you could hang out in the stable and I would feed my horses. I had like two horses. One was Tap Tap Tap, which is from Tappet, which is a big horse, and the other one was called Chartreuse. But I could like pet them and feed them carrots and apples, and more importantly, the owner of it, Blue Streak Racing, um, were kind and they treated their horses well. I mean, the story with Tap 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 was they claimed them from an owner that treated them like crap, and you know, you could tell like they didn't take care of him. And then when Blue Streak got him, they fed him well, they took care of him, made sure he was healthy, and then he came in first a few times. So it was cool. I try to
Right.
get a horse trainer that I know isn't going to abuse her horses.
Yeah, that's
They don't
key.
whip them
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
They basically they win because they want to win, not because they're being beaten by a thing. So, you
Right.
know,
Right.
I like compassionate horse trainers, and
Yeah, I've
usually
seen
go out with them.
Bill Parcells. He lives up here in Saratoga Springs, and he was at the training track sitting in a golf cart with George Weaver's dog while George Weaver was training horses and just watching them. So he's a big thoroughbred fan. He owns horses too, Parcells. Yeah.
But it is a cool thing to see your horse win and go to the winner's circle, and just like, and the horse is excited, the trainer's excited. There's nothing like it. And like during the Kentucky Derby, that was just like, as I say, I mean, it's a cool thing with Heat Wave to play in front of a lot of people, but it's also
Mhm.
a cool thing to have a horse that wins the Derby.
Yeah.
It's like that was like kind of like a highlight of my life.
Was anybody in the band Heat Wave putting some dollars on your horse?
Most of them aren't into that. They're more into football, but
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's a little niche.
it's
The
kind
horse
of,
racing.
it's
Yeah.
unique. I mean, there's
Yeah.
some other musicians that are into horse ownership, but not so much with Heat Wave. But
Yeah, the
it was
first
fun.
track I ever went to was I was visiting my dad who did business out there in Hong Kong. I went to Happy Valley, Hong Kong. That was great. So yeah, you got to make it out here. We got a lot,
Mm,
April to November, the horses are up here, not necessarily running races, but they're training and they're going to be up here, Belmont Stakes, July 4th festival, and then the standard Saratoga. So